Now listen, when it comes to JID, before we go any further into this today, as this is going to be one of the most important videos of the year, make sure to leave a like and subscribe because for the future of hip-hop, there are few rappers and statements. In terms of albums and also the interviews that JID just dropped alongside it that are more pivotal to what the genre will be doing next than with everything that JID has kicked off with his brand new record. God don't like ugly, and with this, it's now time to have some serious conversations about what JID has treated to claim in hip-hop, where he ranks, and if this album was worth the years of hype. So once again, I will say before we dive deep into every single facet of this album and the interviews that JID put out alongside them, leave those likes because this is going to be a good one today. As with the release of this long JID project. Well, first off, what is clear now with just the last month of rap releases, or so as a who lies now, that from the Clipse and Let God Sort Them Out, Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist Alfredo to this, we are in a moment where lyrical rap is at the center of things and all of the genre's biggest releases are coming from REALMCs. Which in of itself is great because people have to pay attention to lyrical rap, and with what JID is trying to do with this very project compared Tapisha and Malice and Freddie Gibbs as a younger MC from a different generation, the mantle that he is carrying is different as it is setting tone for what newer MCs and rappers should expect going forward from the leader of the current classes. What you become very sure of as you press play on this thing and see everything JID has done to prepare us and welcome us into the world that he has created is that over everything else you want to say, JID clearly does understand that pressure and responsibility of things at the very least because he straight up tells everyone on the intro track you're ugly how the rap game has decayed and how the culture needed to be taken back through frustrations of bootfon culture and first week sales. Caucus JID says the lines and fans argue about record sales like they're X6 themselves. It's like we're all under Aspel, and still, I hope this message reaches you well. And then later in that track, when JID is talking about where his value as a rapper is based in this landscape and culture, JID expands on all of this with one of my favorite lines of the year as he vents and says, "Just took an effing ceiling challenge to show you I'm above my peers, Bazarius." Now, with all these lines and the sentiments on this track, which is supported by the Fly God himself, which quick shout out to JID for putting Westside on this track because his support here added a lot to the moment. What is clear in what JID lines in this record compared to his last one, which was more of a personal autobiography, is that here he is coming for the crown and he is tired of that trash state that rap has been in and is ready for a complete pivot. Now clearly with the experience that JID crafted throughout the rest of this album, what you understand when you hear a track like The Powerful Glory or VCRS, which has an incredible Vince Staples feature, is that JID didn't craft this album for industry games and streaming boost, but he wanted to make a long-standing experience like hip-hop greats in the past used to. When you just hear songs flow together and make sense in features, well-placed and nothing feels gimmicky, you see, and this is so groundbreaking, especially for a newer artist, that JID is ready to take advantage of the time we are in and wants to jump up the rap power rankings to the highest spot he possibly can. And speaking of taking advantage of this very moment, well, nothing is more telling of the times we are in than JID becoming the first beneficiary of their turn of the Clipse in terms of album performances. Now for the first time he is a duo since releasing their Insanely Incredible Return album with JID managed to get Pusha and Malice on this record for the track community. And with this they created a super pivotal song in a lot of ways because on one and it is showing us how in this new era and rape regardless of the time they have come in, best rappers are continuing to stick together and show game to one another and make the best art they possibly can, and which is super cool and is what hip-hop is about in full circle. And beyond just this for the Clipse, JID is revealing that they are ready to show up on anybody's album and just make sure that everyone knows that they are one of the best duos of all time. They are ready for whatever the industry wants to throw at them. Because really with this track, this is hands down one of the best rapping cuts we have gotten a year that's not on the Clipse album. As between JID, who when he drops the Duna reference. This verse, I just lost it. It was one of the hardest things I've heard in a while. And then push a T had a great verse and Malice, who closet things out over an intense soul sample beat. And once again, Malice may have it get the best of all of the other competition. Well, this is just pure rap cinema and something that if you don't like, I'm sorry. I don't know how else to say it, you don't like rap music. And no, while a lot is going on within this album from G, not just in terms of the track list and 57-minute runtime, but also within all of the beat switches, flow changes, and storytelling in general, which what I do appreciate at this record is that no moment feels like it lasts too long or is quite the same. Well, within all of this, what connects this album and sets it apart as an essential experience in this era and in this year, where it feels like hip-hop is being won back is now, well, something like the Clipse, and what they did together feels like classic. New York hip-hop evolved and modernized at the highest level possible. What JID is doing here in the big picture feels like a proof of concept for how new rappers can make genuinely great albums that manage to embody so many different aspects of how music has progressed and how it can all come together to make even a classic album. Because while JID is Clipse on this record for an insane rapping cut, he also has Don Tyler revving out here with really strong vocals on the track What We On and with duality that balances so much off what hip-hop can be in the best and most asshole ways. Listen, as a new voice in an era where most new voices are not even worth listening to, I really respect how much JID is trying here. And I think if all rappers from this newer class and era came with as much intention in their records as JID did, whether it was with their features, sequencing, and just track design and layout, hip-hop would have never sung to the place that it did at one point. But I think with this run that we are seeing now, which is being carried on by so many different great MCs from so many different eras, I think now after seeing current superstars like Kendrick and Tyler carry on that feeling, then somebody like Freddie Gibbs jumps in, then have a legend like the Clipse how they're doing, and now a newer artist like JID passing things forward as well. I do think with all these rappers who are contributing griefings, there is a common theme between all of them that is restoring a feeling that has been missed in hip-hop for so long. And while it's kind of hard to even describe and put into words, when you understand these records and listen to them, you can start to see what I'm saying. Now, the best way I could describe this all comes from what Tyler, the creator, said in a recent interview with Zalo, as when he was talking about himself in the clipped record, he was saying everything was so visceral with its ideas and sound that, from the most pure level, with how real and pointed the expression we were witnessing is. It's not just music, but these records transcend and do something that a lot of classic rap albums and eras past did, which is tap into one of rap's core specs, which is spirituality. And as Tyler was saying, that the Clipse album is a gospel record. Because of how it does this so well, I do think if we look at what Clipse did kind of like that reality from both the title to the songs and the expression within this record, we could see the exact same thing about what JID is doing here, and I mean that in the best way possible. Just to build on this, as JID said in an interview with Joe Budden, which we were going to get into everything else, he said their latter backhouse there was a lot of important stuff, how ultimately it was his grandmother who is no longer here, who gave him the title for this record. Well, he even doubled down on the spirituality himself, and he explained that these records become something so much bigger than him, because even for his rap name JID, for example, he says that his other grandmother gave him that name. Overall, when JID makes music and when he's coming to the booth to make this record that we are hearing, he's not just carrying himself or his love for hip-hop on his back, but he's carrying the lineage of who he is on his family, and I think you could hear it in this record, and I think it makes everything all the more powerful. And now with all of this, well, JID has dropped his album and people are going crazy right now with this entire momentum in hip-hop, and where there has been some rumors, the issues going around in Dreamville, and the release of this record from JID. Well, with JID now being also back outside and doing interviews to give us some context on this record and even what's coming on Deluxe, well, we are finding out a lot of things that are making the album better and are making us more excited for. What's to come with JID as now as Hedgest went on the Joe Budden podcast. He discussed a lot in this interview. And know from where JID's career is at to who may have ready to collab with on the Deluxe to where he stands with Cole and everything. About the beef. Well, overall JID had a great conversation with THEJBP where we learned a lot about where he's been at ever since the J. Cole apology. And now within this, what JID told us about that is that he wasn't talking to Cole directly during the beef and he was the only Dreamville artist was not there when J. Cole did the infamous apology and was even represented 7-minute drill dropped in the first place. And what you had pretty much ended up saying about this is that he had no idea what was going on with any of the beef and kind of stayed out of things. Even with his proximity to Cole and everything that was happening there and kind of the tension that remains, JID did still talk very positively about Kendrick Lamar and even revealed that the idea of them collaborating could very well happen soon. Or it already did and we just don't know and JID's trying to keep a secret. And now I say this because when JID was asked what rappers he wanted to work with over every other person, his answer was obvious and he told the pot up there that he wants to collab with Doten. He can't wait to do this despite everything else and the implications that people may think of it. And now with Clipse being on this record and them teamed up, I don't think this is too far out of the realm of possibility from happening. And as there is a deluxe version of this record, which is supposed to drop in some days and has some big-time superstars and legends on it apparently. I mean, who knows? There could be a chance that JID is trolling on being encryptic and we get it there, but I really don't think this is the case. But I do think that JID and Dot will be a closer possibility than ever know that the Clipse have made a song with them as well. Now, within this conversation around Kendrick, Clipse, J and all these lyrical rappers when it comes to JID and Cole, well, Jedi has made it clear that they have not been speaking directly as much. What revealed now is that while Cole is nowhere near the credits of this album in any capacity, JID and Cole have recorded a 15-track collab album that JID seems very proud of. Although it seems like there is no actual plan to release this thing or anything like that and just finding this out, it's really interesting to hear how much music JID has been making and working on and even with Cole out of time yet none of it has dropped. What I do think we will find out now is JID is more outside than ever in this time, at the full extent of possible behind the scenes issues and everything there held back some of his plans. Regardless of what may have went down and where things got chilled for a while, because again and just to add Jay also did say he mad at this album around the same time, The Forever Story, and everything has been pretty much done which once again, is not just making me believe, but is showing that this record was shelled in a capacity is that there's a lot more to the story about Dreamville and everything that went down. Now as JID has been able to finally get out this 15-song body of work that Manifesto embodies so much of what makes him great and hip-hop, a defining art form of our time. Listen, however you want to frame it, this is a huge win for hip-hop, and in terms of what this record is accomplishing, this record is an album of the year candidate and one of the top 3 records to come out this year so far. Right in the conversation with Clipse and Freddie Gibbs. Now, if you are a rap nerd like myself, the JID fan in this tomato, just have fun as I want to highlight more parts of this record that I couldn't really fit into the script bear I go any further. First off, I want to speak to you. Let me know what your favorite song is so far and how you are feeling about this album based on your first few listens. Now for me, what I will say is that aside from Community and You Ugly, which in terms of the track You Ugly, I think is one of the best intro tracks we have heard in rap in a while and right alongside tracks like Whacked Out Murals and The Birds Don't Sing. Even 1995 from Freddie Gibbs. It's continuing this trend of rappers in these albums just having all-time great intro tracks. Some of the other early standouts for me have been VCRS with Vince Staples, which with this do on a track, I mean, when you hear it on the album, it fits like a glove, and it just works so well. And Vince Staples and JID is such a good match for one another. In terms of how they fit each other's aesthetics, vocals, and vibes. It's just awesome, and the outro for Keeps was another powerful track, as it masterfully together the album and sent a really strong fell message from JID where he just broke down who he raps for and why he is doing all of this in such a real way. It comes back Toddler's point of Clipse being a gospel album in this record kind of being like that. I think this is a song where we really see that spirit just come out in such a beautiful way. And for me, my other early favorite has got to be that track Wholeheartedly, which features $$ in black. And I think this is another cut that kind of reminds me of Cody Blue 31 to an extent with just how great JID's singing is on it. And I think the productions and vibes just create such a beautiful piece of music. And so overall with this now is JID did close out this JBP interview saying they wants to release about 50 to 70 songs from this era. I think he's going to be around a lot more going forward. And I do think the more JID continues to speak and release music, this record is going to continue to look better. And JID's rankings within the rap game are only going to go up for every single type of listener. So now, with all that said, let me know what you think about everything JID has going on with this record, everything going on around him, and what you excited to see from him next. And if you have not told me already, let me know what your favorite parts about this record are. Now, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all of this. And now, if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And now, if you want to see how right before this, well, of course, as hip-hop was about to have another great moment, Layman had to make it about him and ruin things with just another embarrassing moment where he dissed Kendrick Lamar.